Hey guys, bachphotography here, and today we're looking at a lens comparison video, and we're looking at what the best portrait lens is for you if you're a beginner and you've just started photography and you don't have that many lenses. So if you're new here and you enjoy the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and then hit the bell notification as well so you don't miss any of my content in the future. So I'm going to be leaving all the raw files to this photo shoot in the description, as well as a few lenses to look at as well, and then all the equipment that I use in my photo shoots. So in this lens comparison, we're only going to be looking at prime lenses, and I'll talk a little bit later in the video why I'm only looking at prime lenses for this particular lens comparison. We're also not going to look at the 85mm range of lenses, and that's just because most beginners are going to be using a crop sensor, and an 85mm lens on a crop sensor camera turns into a 135mm focal length lens, and that is super tight and not really useful for that many things apart from very specific cases in portrait photography and maybe some things like sports and wildlife. So the lenses that we're going to be looking at in this video is the 24mm 1.4, the 35mm 1.4 and the 50mm 1.4. Now a few of you might be thinking, why did you include the 24mm in this lens comparison? And the reason is because a 24mm lens on a crop sensor, which has a 1.6 zoom factor when compared to a full frame camera, actually makes a 24mm lens a 38.5mm lens, which is a nice wide-ish portrait lens. And the reason that a 24mm is actually a 38mm on a crop sensor is because a crop sensor camera, one of your lower end cameras, actually has a smaller sensor compared to a professional camera which has a full frame sensor. And basically, when you get a lens like the 24mm, your crop sensor isn't actually big enough to use the entire surface area of the lens, and so it's just using the middle area of the lens, the middle portion, and because it's 1.6 times smaller, you're getting a 1.6 times crop on your focal length of the full frame lens. So that's enough technical talk about why different sensors make different focal lengths with the same lens. Now let's have a look at a few different photos I took with my full frame camera using a 24mm, 35mm and 50mm lens. Okay, so here is a photo that was shot at 50mm. It was shot using a Sigma 50mm 1.4, but if you don't want to spend so much money on a lens, you could also grab a 50mm 1.8, and particularly the Canon version is incredibly cheap. Very great budget lens, and you get a really good bang for your buck. So you need to keep in mind, if you're using a crop sensor, that you're going to be 1.6 times more zoomed than this. So that's something to think about. When you're using a full frame 50mm lens on a crop sensor, you are getting quite a tight crop. This photo is shot on a full frame sensor, so just keep in mind that it will be a little bit tighter than this. And as a general rule, with each of these lenses, if you're using a crop sensor, the image is going to look more so like the next focal length up from the photo I'm showing you. So if we look at the 24mm, it's actually on a crop sensor going to look more like the 35, and the 35 is going to look more like the 50, and then the 50 will actually look more like an 80mm, but in this video we're not actually shooting with an 80mm, so just imagine it being 1.6 times more cropped again. So for example, with this photo, this is actually what it would look like on a crop sensor. So is a 50mm 1.8 a good lens for a beginner looking to do photography, and in particular portrait photography? Well, yes and no. If you're shooting on a crop sensor, a 50mm is going to be quite a tight lens. It's going to be very good for portrait photography, and it's going to be a very good camera lens to introduce you into the realm of low apertures. So in that way, it's going to be awesome, but also it's incredibly cheap. So it's a really great alternative for people that don't have a huge budget to spend on photography. That being said, the actual lens itself on a crop sensor is not that versatile because you have quite a long focal length of 70-ish mil equivalent on a crop sensor when compared to a full frame sensor. So definitely it's a great lens, it's a great beginner lens, but it's not that versatile just because you're actually shooting at about 70mm. So it'll do portraits quite well, but it won't do other things very well. For example, it won't do landscapes too well. You can shoot landscape on a 50, but it does restrict you. What else won't it do? It won't really do things like wildlife because it's not long enough, so it's kind of in just a bit of an awkward position where it works quite well as a portrait lens, but not so well with any other type of photography. So now let's talk about the 35mm lens, and I think that this is a really fantastic lens for beginners to get started in portrait photography, particularly if you have a little bit more of a budget and you can spend a little bit more money on a bit more of a special lens. So if you wanted to, say for example, get the Sigma 35 1.4, which is what this was shot on, then you're looking at somewhere around $600 or $700 for that lens, which is quite a lot. It is quite a big investment, particularly when you're starting in photography, but these lenses, they will last you far longer than your camera body, and getting the correct lenses the first time, doing it once and doing it right, will really save you a lot of money in the long term. You don't want to be skimping out on these lenses and then having to upgrade when you want to become a professional photographer and you want to just really increase the level of quality of your equipment and take your photography to the next level. That being said, of course, you really need to know how your equipment works before it's even worth spending money on your equipment, because even if you had all the equipment in the world, it wouldn't help if you didn't know how to use it. So 30mm, which is approximately a 50mm equivalent for a crop sensor, is a really versatile lens, and it's great for portrait photography, especially when you want to get a little bit wider and show off more of your background, that sort of thing. These lenses are also, of course, really low aperture, so you can get beautiful blurry backgrounds. The Sigma 35mm 1.4 in particular is a very sharp lens, and because most 35mm are sharp because they're still quite a normal focal length, as it's called, and basically the way it works is the wider you go with a lens, or the narrower you go, the longer you go, the more difficult it is for manufacturers to make sharp lenses, and that's because of the laws of physics and how light refracts off glass and that sort of thing. We won't go into that too much, but a 35mm, because it's quite a normal focal length, it produces really beautiful sharp images. So now we're going to talk about the 24mm lens, and then after that I'll talk a little bit about why I chose primes for this lens comparison, and why zoom lenses can be also a really great option for portrait photography, but in my opinion prime lenses are always the way to go because of that versatility in the low apertures you can get. So 24mm, it's a bit of a strange lens. People don't really use it for portrait that often. It's not really a portrait lens per se. It's really good for things like landscapes, but I found that you can use a 24mm in portrait photography in very specific circumstances, particularly when you want to really accentuate the background of an image and when you're looking for kind of like a warped and wacky sort of look, because when you're shooting on a 24mm, it's actually so wide that the front element of your lens is a little bit fish-eyed, and that really warps the corners of your image because the actual glass at the front element of your lens is bent. So you've got to be really careful when doing portraits with the 24mm or anything lower than 35mm, particularly on a full frame sensor, but also on a crop sensor as well, because it really does warp people's features, particularly if they're not right dead in the center of the frame. So if you're shooting in portrait mode as opposed to landscape mode, and what I mean by that is the height of the image is larger than the width, that's portrait mode, basically you'll get away with it a little bit more and you won't see quite that much distortion. But if you're shooting a 24mm in landscape mode, you'll really start to see any warping because your model will probably be closer to the top and the bottom of the image. So basically the way it works is the longer your focal length, essentially, well, generally speaking, the longer your focal length, the more aesthetically pleasing somebody looks in the frame because of the compression you get from a long focal length. When you're shooting at a wide focal length, because of the distortions you can see in people's facial features, in the shape of their arms and legs, things like that, it's often not desirable to shoot at a wide focal length. But you can also use that as a technique to get some interesting images. So do I think that the 24mm is a good lens for portraits for beginners? No, probably not, even though it makes a 35mm lens on a crop sensor. And one of the reasons is because, as I said before, you should really be buying lenses that you can use for a very long time, and if you're looking at getting into portraits, then a 24mm is probably one of the last lenses that you're going to want to buy. But also, this lens is really quite expensive. I think it's somewhere in the range of about $1,000, something like that, and because it doesn't really have that many uses in the portrait world, I would say this is one of the lenses you should leave until the end. So now let's have a little discussion about why I chose to talk about prime lenses for this video in the comparison and disregarded the zoom lenses that you also have to choose from. So the reason for that is that if you want to buy a nice zoom lens that has a low aperture, let's say 2.8 or better, it is very expensive to buy a nice portrait lens in this price category. So, for example, you have the 70 to 200mm, and this is a beautiful lens for portrait photography, particularly using a full frame sensor, but the newest version of this, the second series of it, costs something like $1,500 to $2,000. It's a really expensive lens, and it also doesn't really have that much flexibility because shooting from 70 to 200 on a crop sensor is about 130 to 300 mil, so it's very, very narrow. And also, you don't get any of that wider sort of look. You don't have any of the wider availability of focal lengths. And for the same price, you could buy, let's say, a 50 mil 1.4 and a 35 mil 1.8 for the same price as you could buy a 70 to 200. Also, with portrait photography, basically everyone who has a camera that comes with the kit lens, which tends to be either a 18 to 55 if you're using a crop sensor, or a 24 to 105 if you're using a full frame sensor. And the problem with these lenses, in my opinion, is that they just don't offer you that low aperture that you can really use and that can really come in handy in low light situations, or whether you're wanting to blow out the background of your image to really draw focus to your subject. And when you're looking at prime lenses, some of these lenses offer an aperture of 1.8 or even 1.4, and some of them even go down to things like 1.2 and 1.0. And having the flexibility of stopping your aperture down that low really allows you to use the lenses in much lower light, but also really draws the separation from the background and your subject to give your subject of the portrait a really nice pop. So that's why I didn't talk about zoom lenses, but I'll leave some honorable mentions here now. Some to check out if you have a nice budget would be the 24 to 70 by Tamron or by Sigma or Canon, Nikon, Sony, whoever you like to use. 24 to 70 is a really nice lens. And then you've also got the 70 to 200, which is also a classic example of a beautiful, sharp portrait lens. So that is everything in this video I'd like to talk about. Thank you very much for getting to the end. If you have and haven't subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button. It really does help me a lot. And make sure to check out the description for all the equipment that I'm using in all of these photo shoots, and also a link to the raw files there as well. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.